Okay, so we call these working back questions, working backside problems, and they are quite tricky, and we haven't really done them too much in class, something we were going to revise now, and they often come up on stats types of papers, but I'm going to try and show you hopefully through the PowerPoint and the examples to help you, but just try your best. So I think of a number and I multiply it by 7. My answer is 56. What was my number? So think about what I know. So I think of a number, I don't know what that number is, so I've just put that as an empty box. I multiply it by 7 and my answer gives me 56. So I have to think, right, okay, what do I times by 56 to give me, what do I times by 7, sorry, to give me 56? Using my times table knowledge, and my answer would be 8, okay? So my original number was 8. Now, you know how important I always go on about the check. That's so important. So once you've got your answer for these sorts of questions, you must then put it back into what they've told you and then check it works. I think of a number, so 8, multiply it by 7. What does that give me? 7 times 8, 56. Right, so I know I'm correct. These are like those ones where you can mark them yourself because you know that you're right. Let's have a look at another one. I think of a number and add 52. My answer is 91. What was my number? So I think of a number, I don't know what it is, just so I can put that as an empty box, and I add 52, and it gives me 91. And then it just becomes a simple empty box question, like what we were looking at yesterday. So what is it I've got to add to 91? Sorry, what is it I've got to add to 52 to give me 91? So what I can do to check, I can say, right, 91, take away 52. Gives me 39. Okay, am I finished? No, I can hear you all saying, what must I do? My check. I've put my answer down as 39. I've got it there written, so let's just check. If I do 39 and I add 52, does it give me the answer that they've given me? 9 plus 2 gives me 11. Remember, I carry underneath. 3 and 5 and 1 gives me 9. So again, you can tick your work for these sorts of questions. You know that you're correct. These ones, think of a number and I divide it by 10. My answer is 82. What was my number? Think of a number, I don't know what the number was. I divide it by 10 and it gives me 82. I would always be thinking, am I expecting this number to be bigger or smaller? Well, I'm expecting it to be bigger, aren't I, than 82, because I started with a number and divided it by 10. We know when we divide by 10, our number becomes 10 times smaller. So if our numbers become 10 times smaller, what actually do I need to do to my answer? What's the inverse operation? I need to make it 10 times bigger. I need to times it by 10. I need to say 82 times by 10, which gives me 820. Put that in the box. Do I just finish and move on? No, I do my check. I've got 820. If I divide it by 10, I made it 10 times smaller, which my answer would be 82. Yeah, it would. So I know I'm correct. That's what I love about these questions. I actually love these questions, which I say about everything of maths, don't I? But I do really like these questions. They really get you thinking. Okay. Here, same sort of thing, but it just looks slightly different. Then another one of my tips that I love, annotate. You know how much I go on about annotate. And for these sorts of questions, annotating is so important. So, as I say, just looks slightly different. So I think of a number, I don't know what that number is. I add 15, I times it by 3, and I get 60. Well, what was my number to start with? So, annotate on top, working backwards using the inverse. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So think of a number, don't know what that is. When I add 15 and times it by 3, it gives me 60. Okay, so annotate above or below, doesn't matter. Use a different colour if you've got one. We know how much I love different colours as well, that always helps. What the inverse is. Okay, so I'm going to work backwards. So rather than timesing by 3, if I divided by 3, that's the inverse. Rather than adding 15, I would subtract 15. Okay? So let's do it this way. So 60 divided by 3 take away 15. Don't have to do this in your head at all. There's no need to do it in your head. You get some paper and pens and work it out. So I say, I want to work backwards, so I'm actually going this way. So 60 divided by 3 gives me 20. I can do that easy enough in my head. If I couldn't, do a quick bus stop method, that's fine. I've got 20, take away 15. Again, I should be able to do that easy enough in my head. Again, if you can't, do a written method. Gives me 5. I think that's what my answer is. Am I right? I don't know. What do I have to do? Check. I've actually got it there written in front of me. So let's check. I think it's 5, but let's see if I put that in, if it works. Think of a number, 5. Add 15, that would give me 20. 20 times 3 would give me 60. Brilliant. So I know that I'm right. Again, can tick it. That's what's the joy about these ones. Now, if I got this and it didn't actually take me to 60, it took me to 70, what would I do? Yeah, exactly. You just do it again. You know that you'd made a mistake somewhere along the line, because the fact that you haven't got to your answer of 60 is what tells you that you've made the mistake. Okay, but as I said, these are tricky. Okay, so watch this video that I'm doing a couple of times and do the ones through with me, and hopefully that will help. Okay, so same sort of thing. I'm not going to do this one, but I'll talk you through so you could try this one. Think of a number, so we don't know what it is. So it's a question mark, it could be a random letter, it's an empty box. When I have that number and I times it by 12 and add on 55, it gives me 127. So I've got to work backwards because I've actually got my answer. I want to know what this missing number here. So I'm going to work backwards. What's the inverse? And I must do it this way as well. I can't go here and then divide by 12. I must go back along this way. So I must say 127. Instead of adding on 55, I'm going to take away 55. What does that give you? With your answer, instead of timesing by 12, you're going to do the inverse, which is divide by 12. Excellent, well done. And that will give me my answer. And when you've got your answer, put it back into that and check that it gives you 127. If it doesn't, then you know you've done something wrong, and you can check it through. Okay? This is one that maybe looks a little bit more like how you might see it in your SAT type questions, and we had some of them before half term, and they were a bit difficult, but it's exactly the same, exactly like how the ones we've just been looking at. It just looks a bit more wordy. So I'll talk through this one. Josh thinks of a number. He adds 3, he multiplies his result by 5, then he takes away 15, and his final number is 30. What number did he start with? So I'd read that again, because there's quite a lot of information to get your head around there. He thinks of a number, that's your empty box, don't know what that is. He adds 3, and actually you can do it like this. If you wanted to, you could write out what they say. So he adds 3, and then he multiplies that by 5. Then he takes away 15, and he's left with 30, okay? So again, we're going to do our annotations underneath, working backwards. So rather than adding on subtracting 15, what would be the inverse be? Would be on to add on 15. Rather than timesing by 5, what's our inverse? Multiplying by 5. And rather than adding 3, subtracting 3. Okay? And we're going to work backwards. So we're going to start with 30. And we're going to add on 15, which gives us 45. Again, if you can't do that in your head, it doesn't matter. You just do quick jottings to the side. Now we're going to divide it by 5. Again, hopefully you should be able to do that, because that's just your 5 times table. If you can't, do a quick bus stop method to give you 9. Saying how many times is 5 going to 45, goes 9 times. And then so instead of adding 3, we're going to minus the 3. So 9 take away 3, which gives us 6. Okay. Again, put it back in and check. I would always put it back in actually to the original of how it looks like there. So I've said it was 6. Let's hope I'm right. But it doesn't matter if I'm not, because if I'm not right, then I know I've done something wrong and I'll just do it again. So thinks of a number. I think my number is 6. He adds 3, that would give me 9. He multiplies his result by 5. So 9 times 5 gives me 45. Then he takes away 15. 45 take away 15 gives me 30. Therefore, again, I know I'm correct. Okay, so that's how to go about those sorts of questions. They are tricky, but just have a go. Hopefully, if you work through these, they get progressively a bit harder. And the questions that I've given you are a mix of all of those types of questions. Okay, I hope that helps everybody.